Good morning, Mr. Law.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, GM.
Good morning. Good morning.
Sri Academy. A very good morning to our respected principal, Ms. Shunglu, our vice principal, Ms. Banerjee, our chief guest, Mr. G.M. Kapoor, all our eminent speakers, and our dear audience. To have an auspicious beginning and the successful execution of all our upcoming events in this celebration of the World Heritage Week, let us join together for a short prayer dedicated to Devi Saraswati, Goddess of Wisdom.
कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापहा.
Home, peace, peace. It is often said that people without the knowledge of their past, origin, and culture are like trees without roots. Therefore, to know our city of joy more closely, in today's event, we'll take a virtual walk around our city to explore the historical and cultural significance of 5 different communities with the help of our resource persons representing their respective communities. With this, I would request our principal to inaugurate the event and address the gathering. Ma'am, you're most welcome.
Namaskar and good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
A very special welcome to Mr. Kapoor and all.
You muted.
Good morning and namaskar. It gives me great pleasure to welcome each one of you here, all our erudite and esteemed speakers. Mr. Kapoor, I know personally for many years. It's interesting, our school motto is deepen your roots and broaden your horizon. And as we move towards progressive education, we feel it's extremely important for every child and every staff and every teacher in the school to feel a sense of gratitude or to feel a sense of belongingness to the culture that we belong. And today is a very important step towards that. The Heritage Club has been extremely active in the last year and a half, 2 years, under the guidance of Ms. Chatterjee and all the teachers. They've been working very hard to bring about this pride and the sense of the past. Today, I would just like to share a few more moments of my past. Really, it's an important step towards that. The Heritage Club communities, we would have people from the Chinese, Anglo-Indian, Parsi, Armenian, and Jewish community. I grew up in a town called Lucknow in North India, which had both the British and the Islamic influences on it, very strong influences, 50 years back. And those 2 decades that I spent there left an indelible mark on who I am today. And I feel a lot of my personality comes from what I saw in school and at home. We would go on, we would start our day with the Lord's Prayer, scripture classes, wander in the residency, which we had an adjoining in the cemetery, spend time looking up the history of the residency. And in the afternoons, we would weave through the Baradari and in the Imambara, and those were the areas we spent our free time playing and visiting. Friends we had, I'm in touch with Khurshid and Shaheen, who we spent all our, the Eid days, and they would come over on Diwali. I also remember going home, and my grandmother only knew one story. She would always tell me stories from the Ramayana, and would tell her that, how come, Dadi, you don't know any other story? But that's what she would tell us. And we grew up listening to so many interesting magical tales associated with that period. And she would make us sit when she would chant the Hanuman Chalisa. So all these varied influences made us really understand and respect each person from whichever background, culture, or religion they were. And I feel that today that is the need of the hour. I felt it refined our personalities. It made us more accepting, more humane, and more peaceful with ourselves. And understanding, as Guruji says in this school, he is our founder, and he keeps talking about Vasudev Kutumbakam, how we must all learn about each other from childhood, about each other's culture, and accept and live together peacefully. So congratulations on organizing this virtual walk, which is amazing. I cannot imagine. I have done the actual walk, so this is an amazing opportunity for our children, and I'm very happy to inaugurate it. This is being done with support with INTACT, under their helmship. And thank you once again for doing this for us at Sri Sri Academy. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your experiences. You have always been a constant support for all our endeavors. This event would not have been a reality without the guidance and support from our chief guest, Mr. G.M. Kapoor. Mr. Kapoor needs no introduction in any gathering of heritage enthusiasts in Kolkata. He has been associated with INTACT since 1984 and is today a member of the National Governing Council and Executive Committee, as well as the state convener of West Bengal and Calcutta regional chapters of INTACT. Today's event is a joint initiative of INTACT and Sri Sri Academy. We are indeed privileged to have Mr. G.M. Kapoor with us today as our chief guest. I now request Mr. Kapoor to kindly address the gathering. Sir, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come back to Sri Sri Academy. It's like coming home almost. I mean, I've been here so regularly, and I have always admired the enthusiasm of the teachers as well as the students in heritage. And that's why I am always available for any activity in heritage-related activity as far as the school is concerned. And I've already told Anuradha that whenever you require my service, always available. So anyway, I would like to mention briefly about the World Heritage Week, which is actually celebrated from the 19th of November to the 25th of November by UNESCO. UNESCO has designated this as the World Heritage Week, and basic purpose being to create awareness of heritage worldwide. And this year's theme, I think we have very aptly chosen our activities, because the theme for 2020 is shared cultures, shared heritage, and shared responsibility. And the aim is of which is to raise awareness about values and conservation of our heritage sites. The theme resonates now more than ever with countries across the world dealing with the health crisis. So, as I said, I think our choice of the activity today is very apt, because it's about shared heritage. And as Suvina ma'am has mentioned, I would also like to recount a little bit of my heritage my shared heritage in Calcutta. I, in fact, have grown up here, and Binny is from the same school as I am. And I remember that many years ago that all the members of these various communities were very much part of that school. And in fact, most schools in Calcutta, I would say, especially the English medium schools at that time. So we had Armenians, we had Parsis, we had Chinese, we had a lot of Chinese. A lot of my Chinese friends are now migrated to Canada and all that, but we're still in touch. A lot of Anglo-Indians were there, and all the communities were represented in equal number, and we felt as one big family. There was no discrimination. There was no, communal feeling, I would say. There was nothing of that sort in those days. We grew up as a family, and today also I maintain ties with everybody. And I think that is the most important message, which I think must be carried forward. And I am delighted to be able to help organize this, where all these communities which are part of the Calcutta ethos are all present here. So without much ado, I would request the organizer to take it forward. Navpreet has been very kind to help in taking this virtual walk, and I'm sure you will have a delightful experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the tone right for our event today. And now it's time for us to introduce our presenter for today's event, Ms. Navpreet Arora. Ms. Arora is an ex-student of Calcutta Girls High School and a graduate from Presidency College. She did her MBA from Eastern Institute for Integrated Learning and Management. After completing her education, she worked for a period of 16 years in the mutual fund sector. It was in 2016 that she decided to quit her job and pursue her passion of exploring Calcutta and sharing and showing the people of Calcutta its hidden beauty. She's very passionate about her dreams and is working very hard to make it a reality. It was in 2016 that she established her company, Fun on Streets, with the aim of promoting theme-based walking tours in Calcutta. Her objective is to enlighten tourists and locals about the rich culture of Calcutta and to cherish its beauty through a different lens altogether. Ms. Arora, I welcome you to this event and would request you to take it forward to our next segment. Over to you, Ms. Arora.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Ma'am, you are on mute. Navpreet, ma'am, you're on mute. Not audible to us.
It's fine now?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Good morning, and I welcome all of you to this very special walk in this very special week. So this walk is all about, as Supriya ma'am said, showing you a few things which are right in front of your eyes, but we don't see it, they are there, but we don't see them. So, staying in this city, we know how cosmopolitan it is. Various people stay here, various communities stay here. And the theme of this walk is to delve a bit more further into this theme. So we all know that this city has been home to various people, the Armenians, the Portuguese, the Jews, the Parsis, the Chinese. All of them have been staying here, and they have been staying here as early as the 18th century. And the reason being that Calcutta was a very important place. It was the capital of the great British Empire, the second most important city after London. So many people came here to try their fortunes here. Now, when a community comes and settles in a country which is not their own, okay, apart from a place to stay and a place to work, the third most important thing which they do is to build a place where they can do their prayers. And these people who came here, they built a constellation of beautiful religious buildings in and around an area which was at that time known as the Grey Town. Now, why the Grey Town? Grey Town because these people set up their town in a place which was between the White Town, where the English stayed, and the Black Town, where the in Indian stayed. So these people, neither being the English nor being the in Indians, they made this Grey Town where, if I might use the word, East met West. And hence this town started, which was an amalgamation of various people here. Now, when times are right, and if the school can do a physical walk, the children will see that the most unique feature of this walk is that the places of worship of various communities are within a walking distance. So if you give me around 1.5 hours time, I can take you through various places of faith, which belong to 5 to 7 communities of this city. So without any further delay, I'll start my walk. And the walk will commence with the very lively community, which are the Anglo-Indians. And the most important hub of these people in central Calcutta is the Bow Barracks. Now, Bow Barracks, if you see historical records, this area or this lane was known as the Miru Johnny Lane, Miru Johnny Gully, and it came to be known as the barracks only after these 7 blocks of buildings were created to settle the American soldiers during the World War who had come to this city. Now, these American soldiers did not want to stay here. They thought it was below their standards to be staying here. They opted to stay in the fort, and hence these barracks which were made were leased out to the growing Anglo-Indian community of Calcutta. So if you happen to go there, you would see that these are 7 blocks of similar looking buildings, beautiful ones with green shutters and red walls. And they still stand like that even now. And these blocks, as I said, were made and were made for the soldiers, but given to the Anglos, and they stayed here. But now it's a mix of people who stay here. And the most important feature of this lane is that if you kids would be seeing the Christmas carnival on Park Street. But if you ever have the time to go here, you would see how beautifully the festival is celebrated here. The lanes become alive with lights and music and dance. And it is a beautiful festival feel here. Another very important feature of this precinct is that, though we as a country are obsessed with the cricket, but here hockey is a very favorite pastime. So you would see kids playing hockey in these lanes, and many important hockey legends like Leslie Claudius have wielded a ball here. We are very fortunate to have Miss Maria with us, who will speak a bit more about the Anglo-Indians, and she will take us for a small tour through the Portuguese church. To introduce her, she is a PhD research scholar at the Department of Geography in University of Delhi. She completed her MPhil, and from the same department with a first class and received a university gold medal. She's a feminist social geographer. As a young Anglo-Indian, she takes interest in uncovering the identity and present status of the Anglo-Indian community in the city. The many interactions in the course of her research kept her motivated to document and work with the Anglo-Indian community of this city. So over to her. Maria, if you could just mute yourself, please.
Yes, I hope I'm audible enough, Preet.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you, and good morning to all present. I apologize for not being able to put my video on because of a low bandwidth problem, but I think I'm heard, so that's more important here. A very warm thank you to Ms. Chatterjee and Mrs. Shunglu for inviting me to speak on the Anglo-Indian community of Kolkata at this event. Very broadly speaking, the Anglo-Indian community refers to a population of mixed descent. That is, they are a group of people who trace their family roots from a European ancestor in their paternal lineage or the male line. In my experience of speaking to members of the community or reading on the community, I noticed a tendency to constantly relate them to only British ancestors. And this I felt was factually incorrect because in the definition of Anglo-Indian, which is mentioned in Article 366(2) of the Indian Constitution, it clearly mentions European descent. And European descent can be British, can be Scottish, Portuguese, Dutch, or French, among others. The community in Kolkata largely traces its roots through the British descent, as the city itself is a product of the British Raj. However, you will also find traces of Portuguese descent which have been recognized. Now, the place in question that Navpreet was speaking about earlier, the Bow Barracks, tends to be synonymous with the community. And in fact, it's probably one of the most recognized and recorded Anglo-Indian neighborhood hubs. However, presently from that central location in Calcutta and the other adjoining areas, the community has dispersed to other places within the city, such as Park Street, Ripon Street, Elliott Road, McLeod Street, Wellesley area, Picnic Garden, Bihala. And these are the nodal areas where a considerable population of the community presently resides. So the present location of the community, so to speak, cannot be really pinned to a particular place or hub. So hence, it's more appropriate now to sort of view them in terms of multiple nodal areas with a few families scattered throughout the city. Most Anglo-Indians speak English as their mother tongue, and nearly all of them are Christian by faith. It is very difficult to enumerate the exact number of Anglo-Indians that are presently residing in the city, as there has not been any census that has been carried out, nor any data, so to say, published. However, for the purpose of research and discussions, the population of Anglo-Indians in this city can roughly be estimated to be around 30,000 persons. But in spite of this microscopic number, when you look at it in relation to the total population of the city, their contributions to the city have been immense. And their imprints can be seen in various government enterprises such as the railway, the customs, sports, as Navpreet had mentioned, and also in education. And they have also made a mark on the entertainment sphere through their music, through musicians, and their dance styles, which is basically jive, line dancing. And notable recreational spaces in the city include the Grail Club, which is located on Park Street, the Calcutta Rangers Club as well. Prominent members of the community in Kolkata include parliamentarian Mr. Derek O'Brien, educationist Mrs. Sheila Broughton, Miss Gillian Hart. Also, we see that presently a very strong contribution is being made to the city through the establishment of many Anglo-Indian schools, or rather established Anglo-Indian schools such as Pratt Memorial School, the Loreto schools that are there, St. James's, and La Martiniere. And these schools admit students annually, so that's how they are contributing to society. That's how the community contributes to society. Also, there is no doubt that the population of the community is decreasing, due to people moving out to other cities or even abroad for better employment opportunities and perhaps more suited standards of living. And as a result of these declining numbers, it is certain that Anglo-Indian culture has, in a way, experienced an influence of predominant cultures in the city, other predominant cultures in the city. However, I strongly advocate, as a young Anglo-Indian, that it's not really the decline of the culture, so to speak, but it's actually a dilution of it. And this sort of new approach needs to be added, while talking about the community in the present day context. So here's where I'll end my little brief note on the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for it was very, very insightful. Now we move on to the Parsis here. So we are very fortunate enough to have Mr. Cyrus. And before we hear him, I would want to show you a few fire temples which are there in our city. So first, I would like to just tell you about the coming of this community to this country and then to this city. So the Parsis, if recorded history is to be believed, the Parsis came to in India some 1300 years ago when they were driven out of their country. So the story says that a ship full of Parsi families landed on the shores of this country, and the kingdom where they came was ruled by a king called Rana Yadav. Since they were foreigners and we did not know their language, so it said that the king showed these people a bowl full of milk, signifying that, my country is full and I cannot take in any more of you. To which the priest who was accompanying the people mixed a spoonful of sugar in the milk, signifying that they could be accommodated and that they would only add sweetness to our country. So that's how the Parsis started staying here and settled here. Now, if we go by some written translations in a magazine called Navroj, it is said that the first Parsi came to this city some 200 years ago. A British officer by the name of John Carter, when he was posted from Surat to Calcutta, he brought in the first Parsi here, who was a gentleman named Seth Dadabhai Behramji Banaji, and he came and settled here. He became very wealthy and is established trade relations with China and Burma, and used to trade in opium and silk. Now, the first Parsi temple, the pictures of which you can see here, was set up in the year 1839. You can see this plaque in the center where the date is there. So this first Parsi fire temple is established by a gentleman named Rustam Ji Banaji in a street called the Ezra Street. The date, as I said, was 1839. It was a beautiful temple surrounded by pillars, and all around it were sprawling gardens. Unfortunately, now the sprawling green has been encroached by a light market, and nothing remains here of the temple, except for these lone pillars, which you can see in the third picture. Though the Archaeological Survey of in India has taken over this temple, but nothing much can be done because of certain legal problems. Another temple which is there in this city and which is functional is a temple in Metcalfe Street, and this is established in the year 1912 by another Parsi gentleman who went by the name of D.B. Mehta. You can see his name here. Now, Mr. Mehta came to this city in the year 1846, if I'm right, and he made a huge cotton empire here. He set up a mill called the Empress of Cotton Mill, and he started a small fire temple in his own house, which was in Canning Street, after they had a dispute with the Banaji family. It was only after his death that his wife and son made this beautiful temple, and they shifted the holy fire from the house to this temple, which is still here on the first floor in a huge giant urn. Now, the ground floor of this temple is a place where this community gets together to celebrate their festivals, and the first floor is where, as I said, the holy fire is there, and the first floor cannot be accessed by the non-Parsis. On the ground floor is this beautiful brass plate of Faravashi, which is their symbol. So it's a male body with wings. Also on the ground floor, you can see this beautiful clock, which was specially made and sent to this temple way back in 1908. And on the first floor, you have around 11 stained glass paintings showing the different motives and symbols of the Parsis. Here are a few pictures which Mr. Cyrus had shared. So this picture on the left shows the priest working in the temple. As I said, that on the first floor, no one other than the Parsis can go. So here we can see the priest, working on the holy fire. And on the right again is a picture of a few priests, doing a very important ceremony, which was known as a Jashan ceremony. As I said, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Cyrus with us, who will tell us a bit more about the community. So in introducing him, Mr. Cyrus was educated in St. Xavier's School and College. He got his BCom from Calcutta University. He's a sports commentator, TV presenter, and has anchored programs for ESPN, Star Sports, 10 Sports. He is the ex-chairman of the Royal Calcutta Turf Club and is on their board now. He is a member of the West Bengal Minorities Commission, representing the Parsi community, and is a trustee since 2001 of the Calcutta Zoroastrian Communities Religious and Charity Fund. He is also a resident director of the Calcutta Parsi Amateur Dramatic Club for over 2 decades. Over to you, Mr. Cyrus.
Thank you so much, Navpreet. Thank you. Well, I think Navpreet's filled you in a lot on when we came in and what we've done. We did arrive a long time ago, but in Calcutta, we've been here for over 2.5 centuries. Mr. Banaji was the first man to come in. And as she said, one of the first things that they did was to set up a fire temple on Ezra Street. Now, Ezra Street, Lenin Sarani, or what used to be Dharamtala, Beau Bazaar, were all places which were very different to what you see today. It was a very, very major area where the Parsis came and settled. In fact, my own family, the Madden family, goes back a long, long time, and they had a house on Dharamtala itself. The Parsis in Calcutta, as we said, have been here over 250 years, and the contribution that they've made has been vast. That, I think, would be an understatement, and it's been there throughout the country. It's a minuscule community. You wouldn't really call it a minority. Today, we are just about 390 Parsis in Calcutta. So it's really come down tremendously to what it used to be. What is interesting is just to take you through the walk that Navpreet was talking about. Let's start with the first fire temple that was built here, which was called the Banaji Fire Temple. It was built by the Banaji family. Now, this was on Ezra Street. It was frequented by a number of people who had tremendous faith in this place. Unfortunately, it was a privately owned or family-owned agyari, and there were problems within the family, as a result of which they decided to close. The community got together and came forward to address the family, the Banaji family survivors, and said that, look, we will make the contributions, we will pay for it, allow this to continue. And the response was very clear when they turned around and said, it doesn't belong to the community, it belongs to us. We are not interested in carrying on, so we're closing it up. After that, it just went into complete rack and ruin. But fortunately, what did happen many, many years ago was that Mr. D.B. Mehta's nephew had gone to the Banaji Agyari, which was, as we said, the only fire temple around in those days. And he got into an argument with one of the Banaji clan. And in the course of the argument, he was pushed, and apparently his pagri, or his cap on his head, got displaced and thrown down. So he was very upset, and he came back and he told his uncle, Mr. D.B. Mehta, all about it. And he was so angry and upset that he said, well, besides our own little family agyari, which we have at home, I'm going to commission a completely new one where we can all go. And that is how the D.B. Mehta Agyari, which is today at 91 Metcalfe Street, came into being. So if it hadn't been for that argument, well, the Parsis just might not have had an Agyari or a fire temple in Calcutta. So it's one trait where they say Parsis love to argue amongst themselves. And I'm happy for that, because this is what led to that fire temple coming up. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had it today, probably. Mr. J.M. Kapoor tried to help tremendously at one stage with the Ezra Street Agyari. He'll recall this quite clearly, where we met at the corporation headquarters, the KMC headquarters, and we were trying to get it back so that we could try to do something with it and revive it. He played a huge role in helping us, but here again, he came up against an absolute stone wall in the form of one of the family members who point blank refused and said, you can do what you like. It belongs to us and we are not letting it go. So that was how it failed to go any further. But the Agyari at Metcalfe Street is now over 100 years old. We celebrated its centenary in 2012, and it's still running extremely well. It's a place which is frequented by the community. They're here constantly. Of course, the two biggest days when they do appear is on the 21st of March, spring equinox, which is Nowroz, Jamsedi Nowroz. And then again in August, when we celebrate Nowroz again. We're probably the only community that happily celebrates 2 New Years. I won't go into the details of how those 2 New Years came into being, but we love to celebrate. And I guess this is one way of making sure that that tradition carries on. But what you must learn about is when the Mehta family decided to have their own fire temple in their own premises, it was more a family place, they brought the fire down all the way from Navsari. Now, it worked beautifully. They came with priests from there, and it was kept going right through. But when they reached Calcutta, they suddenly found that they had to cross the Howrah Bridge, which in those days was a wooden structure. And the point was that it had to, the priest had to be in touch with something metallic, not wood. So there was a big thing on how they were going to cross that bridge. So they came out with a most ingenious answer, where the priests wore steel-heeled, high-heeled shoes. So this was the first time that you had men wearing high-heeled shoes and walking in and carrying that fire across to the temple, which still stands today, to their temple. This was the one which was taken to the family temple at the Mehta residence. So there have been lots about the Parsis. There have been a lot of stories. But if you're in this part of town, you're always welcome to look in. Unfortunately, tradition and heritage does not allow a non-Parsi to go up to the first floor where the sacred fire is kept, but you're welcome to go through the hall downstairs, and you'll always have someone there to show you around. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the Parsis in Calcutta. I hope it's been fun, as much fun as I've had talking to you about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. I mean, these stories were really, really nice. And I mean, I'm sure the kids are having a ball of a time. Thank you, Cyrus. Thank you so much. We now move on. Just give me. Okay, so we now move on to our next. Now, kids, we all love Chinese food. And thank God for the Chinese who came here, right? So, so now for the story of the coming of these Chinese community to us, city. So the first official person who came here from China was a man named Yang Daizhang. He came from Canton, and the English called him Tong Achew. Okay, so not much is known about his early life, but we know that he came here during the tenure of Warren Hastings, and that he was given around 650 bigas of land to set up a sugar mill for an annual rent of rupees 45. Okay, now this place was near Baj, known as Achipur. The sugar mill is long gone, but they do have a temple and a small tomb of a Tong Achew, which Mr. Law will tell us more about it. Now it is very important for you to know a very interesting thing, that the name Chini, because Tong Achew had come here, set up a sugar factory here. So white sugar, what we know as Chini, actually the word was used because the Chinese introduced this sugar to us. So when you use the word Chini, please, now you know that it is not a Hindi word, but we have this word because of the Chinese who came here. So now with the Chinese who had been here, so there were many people who came from different, provinces of China and settled in central Calcutta. They first settled in a place called Kasai-Tola, which was in the Dharamtala, and then they moved northwards towards a place called the Terati Bazaar, and the various people from various provinces set up a social club, and attached to this social club was a church. And so throughout that entire place, many small Chinese temples were set. So I shall take you through two of them. So the first one, the one you can see here, is the C.F. Church. This is in a lane called the Chhatawala Gully. This temple, which is here, was set up in 1905, but prior to it being here, it was set up in another place, and that was set up in the year, I think, if I'm right, it was 1882. and later in 1905, it came here. Now, if you see the name, it says CIP Church. We say that, but the thing is that it is Se. It is not C. Se meaning four, because people from four provinces of Canton had come here and is established this church. As I said, all the Chinese churches will have a club on the ground floor and the church on the first floor. So even here, there is a hall where the people of this area come to socialize, play cards, and also here you will find the only Chinese newspaper here, which is still printed on I think, if I'm right, it is on a weekly basis. It is printed in Teng. Yeah, it is the only Chinese paper which is here in this city. Now, if you go to the first floor, you will see the temple, and the first thing which will attract your attention is this beautiful wood carving here, which is made out of a single block of wood. Okay, and it is suspended from the ceiling, giving the impression of heaven and earth. So it is somewhere in the middle to show the concept of heaven and earth. The deity here is the goddess of mercy, who is Guan Yin, and also the god of war, Quan Ti. He is also worshipped in this temple. Now, in the next lane, we have one more church, which is called the Tungon Church. Now, the Tungon Church, the place where it stands now, was the site where Calcutta's, I think, probably in India's first Chinese restaurant called Nanking was here. So the ground floor was where the restaurant was, and it was on the first floor where the family had a very small private temple where only the community members and the family could go to. So this restaurant was started by the O family, O family, in 1925. And this was such a fancy place that it said that there were, violinists at the gate. The interiors were very fancy and posh. And it was so famous that, big stars like Raj Kapoor is supposed to have been here. And it is said that he used to stand at this balcony here and wave at the crowds. In 1962, when we had the Indo-China War, slowly this place started crumbling, and it had to be closed down in the 1970s. After that, there were many problems with this place, and when it was given, this property was shifted to the trust. They set up this Buddha statue on the ground floor to save this beautiful place from falling into the wrong hands. As in the case of the CIP Church, on the first floor, you will find this beautiful idol of Quan Ti, which is worshipped in the Tungon Church. Now, I would request Mr. Law, who has been very kind to be with us, to speak a bit more about the Calcutta Chinese, and also take us through two very important churches here. So, Mr. Law is a Chinese Indian born in this city. Did his schooling from St. Joseph's College. He graduated with a Bachelor of Architecture from IIT Roorkee. He was at the top of his class and completed his Master's in Building Sciences from the University of Southern California. He is currently the CEO of Ecoscape, a sustainable architectural firm, and CEO of Bark Inc., a document management firm headquartered in California. He is the president of the Chinese Indian Association since 2014. He is also a trustee and member of the Tuon Church, the Gihing Church, and the Mahabodhi Chinese Indian Buddhist Temple in this city and Bodh Gaya. Over to you, Bini. I think you will have to unmute yourself, Bini.
Okay, can you guys see the screen I'm sharing? I'm trying to share my screen. Just a moment. Can you see the shared screen?
Yes, we can. If you could just show us the slideshow.
Yes, I'm trying to show the slideshow. I don't know why it is not coming. Is the slideshow coming now?
You could just enlarge the screen, I think.
Mr. Bini, can I just guide you?
Maximize.
Click on that box, yes.
Is this how we do it? All right.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for giving me this opportunity to share our Chinese Indian heritage with the students over here. First of all, in keeping with this digital age, since it was a walk, I have taken the liberty of making it a hyper walk, where I try to travel even 30-40 kilometers away from Kolkata to show the places where supposedly the first proper settlement happened, like we just talked about that thing. So when did our ancestors arrive in Kolkata? So the Chinese and India have been sharing a very deep, long connection, going back to about 480, where Fahian, a scholar, had come to India. That's almost 1700 years ago. There was the exchange of education and information. Scholars went from India to China, and then from China to India. So traveled over here. Then Huinsang was the next traveler who came to India in about 650 AD, and he studied in Nalanda University. After that, the first documented settlement happened when in Achipur, Napit just talked about when Mr. Thong Achiu came over here and was granted 650 bighas of land. It is said that he was given a horse and said, ride this horse as much as we can, and whatever land you can cover, that is yours, to set up your sugar factory. So that's how he came over here to set up a sugar plantation. He brought in Chinese workers to work in the sugar plantation and the factory. And some say this is the first Chinese settlement, but although undocumented, there have been the Chinese settlement in the central Kolkata long before that too, where there was a very thriving trade in opium and silk. In fact, the Tagore family has a very deep-rooted connection. Mr. Rabindranath Tagore, Kavi Guru Rabindranath Tagore had a deep connection. The whole family has a deep connection with China, with this trade in silk and opium going back many, many years. And in fact, they speak, a lot of the family members speak fluent Mandarin too. So when they came here, this temple that they set up over here, this is where most of our Chinese people go for their prayers. And every year, Chinese Indians come from various parts of the world, those who have immigrated outside, and they come to visit Achipur. This place is on the banks of the river Hooghly, and they come here, which is about 40 kilometers from Kolkata, and they come here to pray to the ancestors, the first ancestor, the great-grandparent of all. And so this is, you see how they pray, and it's a very traditional candles that is used over here, and they pray to Mr. Thong Achiu over here in Achipur. This is a scene from Achipur that I took from the internet. And in Achipur also, there are various deities that is supposedly brought by Mr. Thong Achiu from China, and they represent the god and goddess of earth. So this is the deity that is there in Achipur, and this is unique to that because this deity is not there in other temples. Then, of course, prayers are offered to the symbolic tombstone, which is shaped in a horseshoe. The Chinese, there are about 6 or 7 Chinese cemeteries where you will see this horseshoe-shaped tombstone. It is for luck, obviously, and people pray over here. And of course, his original tombstone probably washed away, and so this is just a reconstruction. But yet, people go there every year during Chinese New Year. Within a week or two from Chinese New Year, busloads of people travel from Kolkata to Achipur to pray and pay respects to him. In fact, it is said that this temple was actually built in 1718, long before Mr. Tong actually came to Kolkata, came to Achipur. The name Achipur itself, in fact, actually was named after Mr. Tong Achu. It was Achipur, so it became Achipur. And we celebrated 300 years of this temple in 2018. It was a very big celebration where almost 700 attendees had come. And professional dancers and musicians had come from China to perform in this temple. So this temple is celebrated 300 years, and the other temples are equally old, 200 and many, many years. Now I go to this, travel back to the central Kolkata. We talked about Tuman Church, we talked about Sea Church. There's another church over here, which is one of the oldest church of the 6 churches that are there. Of course, when I say church, it's a misnomer. The people back then did not know any better, and because all the religious places were named church, they named it as a church too. It is more a temple nowadays. You would call it. And this was one of the oldest temples founded in 1820. And there is a written inscription to prove the date of this temple. And most of these temples were dedicated either to the goddess of war or the goddess of mercy, Kuan Yin. You will see that the god of war is there. And this intricate carpentry is because of people who came, carpenters who came from China, from the Guangdong province, who were expert carpenters. And they would take a block of wood and carve out those beautiful things that you will see in almost all of the temples. In fact, in Tuman temple, there are some beautiful carvings too. And there was a large carving that was unfortunately stolen and I think taken out of the country too, during the time that there was some litigation going on with the Tuman temple. Anyway, this Namsun temple also has the exact same carpentry work. Most of the carpenters, Chinese carpenters in Kolkata come from the Guangdong province and they speak Cantonese language. I just take a slight segue from here and talk about this different kinds of Chinese that are here. There are about 5 to 6 people, Chinese languages being spoken in Kolkata. They are different as maybe Bangla and Gujarati. And they are countries where most of them are over here carpenters. And then there is Hakka, where the people also come from the Guangdong province. And they have settled, most of them have settled in the new Chinatown, what we know as Tangra nowadays. And they are mostly into tanning business. Then there's Rupek, the people who speak the Rupek language. They are mostly dentists, qualified dentists, of which we have right now, I think, over 150 of them spread all over India. And even I did not know this information that there was such a large number of the dentists all over India. And in fact, in the initial days when I was young, a lot of them were not medically qualified, but they were much more popular than the truly BDS dentists. But nowadays, most of the dentists go through the proper channel and they do study the BDS to do dentistry. And then there's another group of people called the Santung people who are from Shanghai, and they have formed most of the dry cleaners in Kolkata. In fact, my family owned 2 or 3 dry cleaning shops. And in fact, right now, I think in Kolkata, you will find 3 or 4 Shanghai dry cleaners. And it's because these people also speak a separate dialect of Chinese called the Santung language. And come back to this, the Namsun Church. It's a beautiful church. This is the Quan Pi. He's a god of war, and he says the two people next to him are his bodyguards. And people come and pray to this god almost every day. And the one thing that I'd like to one interesting aspect that children will find interesting is that the Chinese over here have held on to their culture and heritage far stronger than the Chinese back in mainland China. And we over here still do a lot of the rituals, which when we go back to our ancestral land, we see that people have forgotten those rituals, and they have now modernized, and they are not praying, and it's only limited to a certain smaller villages in mainland China. Whereas over here, we still perform those rituals, which is not there in mainland China. This is what you will see if you go to the Namsun temple. You will find this a bell, a ceremonial bell, which has the inscription of the date of when this was constructed. And then you will find some martial art weapons over there in the Namsun temple. This temple. One more. I lost my train of thought. Then I move on to the Yihing Church. All these temples are located within a minute's walk of each other. So from Siib Church, if you want to walk to the Tumon Church, it's just about less than a minute. It's just the next lane. From there, you want to go to the Namsun Church, it's just cross the road over into Damson Lane, which is another minute away. Then there's this Yihing Church, of which I am a member too. This is a temple which was supposed to celebrate its 100th year this year, but I think we have postponed it because of the pandemic. This temple also manages the Achiput temple. The temple in Achipur, I think it's a must visit. It's a weekend trip. If you want to go to Achipur, it's by the river Ganga. Beautiful place, and there are various things to see. It's just a short drive, 40 kilometers drive to Achipur, and it is maintained by the Yihing Church too. This Yihing Church is established in this Blackburn Lane, which is a lane inside the central Kolkata, if you have been there. And we are the caretakers of the Achipur temple, is written out over here. And as told over here, the ground floor is a club. In fact, all the temples was similar. The ground floor is a club where people meet and read the newspapers, play chess, play cards, play mahjong. In fact, right now the Yihing Church is the only church where mahjong is played every day. And for children who don't know what mahjong is, it's just like a card game, but played with blocks made of plastic or ivory or some kind of ceramics, where there are signs and inscriptions on them, which you have to match. It's like a card game, but it is extremely popular with mainly the old generation people, and they meet up every day. It is something that even I was surprised, because I was out of this game. I have never ever played this mahjong myself. I have heard about it, but when I went back to this temple, every day the people come here and they sit down and they play mahjong, and they come from all the way from Tangratu just to play mahjong over here. It's pronounced Machok in Cantonese and mahjong in English, so we call it Machok. And it's a card game which is extremely interesting. And there are, you see over here, there are several tables, 1, 2, 3, 4 tables of mahjong where people come in and they sit and they start playing mahjong. I cannot not talk about Territory Market if we are going to talk about the heritage of Chinese Indians in Kolkata and India. Since childhood, Territory Market was one place where we used to love to go. And I remember distinctly where we used to carry these cane wicker baskets to shop, always. There was no disposable plastic and all these the bad things that have started coming out in the market now. We used to carry these wicker baskets and go there, and then there was a huge amount of Chinese vendors selling all kinds of things. With time and immigration, now we don't have as many people. So for children who don't know about Chinese, this is a very distinct Chinese food you probably won't get in the restaurants that are there, like right now, like mainland China, or you go there, you may get some of them, but not all of them. So this food is specific to this market. It's called Tireti Market. It's a small road that transforms itself into a market early in the morning, particularly on Sunday. It's a must visit. I have a YouTube link over here that people talk about. I'd like that this link be shared. It's a beautiful video of this market. We have this Yucha Kui, which is over here. This is called the Yucha Kui. It's a traditional long flour fried meat dish that we used to have even when we were kids. And it is a very traditional thing. You put it inside gruel, you put it inside any khichdi, and you could have it even with the khichdi. Then we have this siu mai, which is again a steamed dish made of fish. You could also have a vegetarian siu mai. Then we have paus. I'm just relating these words and names for children who don't know about them. And then we have this one very, very particular puri that is, I think, sold only in Tireti Market. And this is called aloo puri. And there is no other place I have seen in Kolkata where people have got, you can get aloo puri. Basically, it's the same puri, but really small and stuffed with potatoes. And this thing is called pao. It's another steamed dish, which it's very popular. In fact, nowadays you do get it in some outlets outside the Tireti Market. But please do visit Tireti Market on a Sunday morning to still see what is left of the Chinese Indian culture and heritage. Then these are some fried items, which is very typical to Chinese dish. You will not find them elsewhere. Some of them actually you won't find them definitely. This is one called the aloo chop, and this is a flat flour fried like a puri, but with a prawn on it. And these are very unique dishes, which we have seen since we were children, and you don't see them elsewhere. So you should visit this Tireti Market to taste some of these products over here. I'd like to talk a little bit about our contribution to culture. Well, we had two Chinese language newspapers. They were handwritten initially by people who managed these newspapers. One was in Metcalfe Street. In fact, it was sadly closed down and shut, and the structure was broken down. And then now one is still there in Canberra, this newspaper. It is the last Chinese language newspaper to be published in Kolkata. And I'm very sad to say that maybe we have seen the last of it, and it may not come back after this COVID situation comes out, because the editor has passed away due to COVID. And the next thing I would like to talk about is the traditional lion dance. This thing, again, is something that we have held on very close over here. That is not there in other places. And there's a link up there where you will actually see a person training young Indian boys for lion dance. It's something that the children will find very interesting. With that, I think I should stop talking right now, because I could go on and on, but for want of time. Thank you so much once again for giving me this chance to share all this information with the children.
Thank you so much. This was really, really nice, and a very good trip through the your Chinese quarter. Now we move on to the Jewish quarters, and to help us know the people more and to know more about the synagogues and the various things. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Silliman with us. Dr. Silliman is a woman with many hats. She's an artist, she's an author, she's a scholar, she's a women rights activist, a consultant on gender, development, reproductive rights, and in environmental issues. That's a lot, Dr. Silliman. She studied in Loreto House and then in Ireland and in the USA, earning her doctorate from the Columbia University. She has written several books, scholarly works, novels, pictorial essays, and her latest one is Adda, the College Street Coffee House. Now, Dr. Silliman has created a beautiful archive on the rich history and achievements of the Baghdadi Jewish community of this city, and has written and spoken widely about her community, both in India and abroad. I would request Dr. Suleiman now to tell us about how the Jews came here and to take us through a very nice tour of the first synagogue, the Neve Shalom. Over to you, Dr. Suleiman.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir, ma'am.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our community. Our community came in about 1790 with Shalom HaKohen coming from Aleppo, from Syria, to actually look for trading opportunities. He first went to Surat and scouting to see what the opportunities were. He looked further east and saw the rising star of the British and the East India companies and the possibilities this could afford him for trade. So he was a jeweler, a court jeweler. He moved to Kolkata and he first started dealing with jewels, and even was the man who weighed the Kohinoor diamond. He was the person who traded and met with many of the princes of India to sell jewels. Realizing that there was much more potential in India, very soon his family came to India. He called them and said, this is a country of great promise. We are a trading community. We've always been traders across the Middle East. And he settled in Kolkata. Actually, it was, they were all very religious people. We are Sephardic Jews. We're conservative people. And our language actually is Arabic. We are Arab Jews, which people don't think of too often. We wrote Arabic in the Hebrew script. He actually came and met with many Armenians who lived in that gray area. We had Parsi, Armenian, Chinese, Portuguese neighbors in the gray town. And he rented the premises for a synagogue, which is the Neve Shalom synagogue today. And that was where we started praying out of. Very soon, Jews from other parts of the Middle East, seeing the opportunities that were there under British India, also came and settled in Kolkata. And we became known as the Baghdadi Jews of India, even though the first person was my ancestor, Shalom HaKohen, who was a Syrian Jew. My mother's side is Iraqi. We were called Iraqi because Iraq was a great center of learning for Judaism across the East. And we followed the Baghdadi liturgy. And over a period of time, due to problems that occurred in the 19th century in Baghdad, the predominant number of people, Jews who came, were Baghdadis. Now, I heard and smiled when I heard there were 30,000 Armenians, Anglo-Indians left in the city, and Cyrus said, I was quite surprised to learn there were only 300 Parsis or so left in the city. Well, we are not even 20 Jews left in the city. I'm not talking about 20 Jewish families. I'm talking about 20 Jews. Our community is mostly very aging. Many of them are very elderly. And they're people who just never left. I'm one of the few who is from an old Jewish family, but came back with my mother, who is now 90, almost 91, to settle in Calcutta about 10 years ago. So we are very few in number, but we never were that many. The maximum number of Jews that there were in the city was 4,000 or 5,000, which was during the war years, when our community of 4,000 got expanded as Jews from Asia came to Kolkata for refuge, Jews from China, Jews from Burma, etc. The Jews were always very welcomed. In Calcutta, we built 3 wonderful synagogues. Today, this oldest synagogue, the Neve Shalom, is the newest synagogue. Now, that sounds weird, but what happened is that we built it, as the community grew, the Neve Shalom was too small. And so they decided to build the Beit El synagogue, which I hope you'll see a couple of slides of. Will you be showing them a couple of slides of the synagogue?
Yes.
So you'll see the Beit El. I call it the queen of the synagogues. It's in Pollock Street, a very beautiful synagogue. But as the Jews prospered and did very well, Ezra Street is a very wealthy Jewish businessman. Sir David Ezra and his family decided to build the Magen David synagogue, and they were going to break down the Neve Shalom, and in that larger compound, build a very large synagogue, the Magen David. And most of the community was on board, and they were going to do this. And when the beautiful Magen David synagogue was built, which you'll also see slides of, it's the largest synagogue in Asia, though the other Sephardic Baghdadi synagogue in Pune says they're the largest in Asia. So I'm not sure. We're both competing with each other, and which is the largest, and I guess it depends on how you measure it. We're the two largest synagogues in Asia. There was a fight that developed between the people of Nevi Shalom and the Magen David, because they thought that the Magen David today would be called the Nevi Shalom. And they didn't like it that there was going to be a name change. And they didn't like it that the Ezra family, was showing their clout. And so basically, after they went through a very long case, a legal case over whether they should be or shouldn't be part of the synagogue, they rebuilt the synagogue in 1912, which is why we have 3 synagogues in Kolkata, 2 pretty glorious, the Nevi Shalom, the smaller, and there were a couple of small prayer houses in the city which are no longer. So that's a little bit about my community. I should say that like the Parsis, we had an outsized imprint. We also, like the Chinese and the Parsis, were very involved in the opium trade. That's where Jews made a lot of their money, especially the Ezra family. Parsis and Jews actually dominated that trade. At that time, it was legal. The Jews then also, when it became no longer possible to deal in opium, dealt in real estate, and a lot of Calcutta's premier real estate was owned by Jewish families. The Ezra family is the most well-known, but there were many other wealthy Jewish families. For those of you all, because you all are many students on this, and I'm sure many of you enjoyed going to the zoo like I did when I was a student, though I'm not sure if today's students enjoy the zoo so much. Both the Gabe House and the Ezra House were donated by the Jewish community to the city of Calcutta because they were also lovers of animals. Besides the 3 synagogues, we also have a Jewish girls' school. It's one of the oldest girls' schools in the city. I think it's about 1860 or 1880 that it was formed. And it was formed for Jewish girls because they were worried about proselytization in the Christian schools. There's also a Jewish boys' school, which still runs today. And we have a very large cemetery in Nakeldanga. So that tells you a little bit about our community. We had a lot of people who were trailblazers. Much of this is documented in my archive, jewishcalcutta.in. But for students of today who may be interested in Bollywood, Jews played a major role in the development of Bollywood because women from other communities were not allowed to act. So some of the stars of both the silent screen and early Bollywood were Jewish actresses with Hindi names. And there's a wonderful video on YouTube for those who want to watch called Shalom Bollywood, which tracks it. Now, once we know about the Calcutta Jews, where the Baghdadi Jews, it's also important to know that there were other Jewish communities in India, one in South India, which is very different from ours, which came many, many years ago, and they're Malayali speaking. And then the white Jews of Cochin, who came in the 16th century, which is a distinct community in South India. I believe there are not even 5 or 10 members of that community left. Our largest community is the Bnei Israel community. It's in Bombay. They actually believed to have come as part of when the destruction of the Second Temple happened. They lived for thousands of years in India, in villages along the Konkan coast. They still are the largest community in Kolkata, in India. There are about 2,000 or 3,000 Bnei Israel Jews. They have their synagogues as well, and there was a Baghdadi community as well. What's interesting about the Jewish communities in India today is they're expanding. There have been 2 other Jewish communities, people who have claimed their Jewishness and been recognized by Israel as well, most importantly in the Northeast. So that tells you a little bit about a community that was welcomed in India, that came when the British came, actually benefited from the British Raj and all the economic opportunities it afforded them, diversified their interests, spread and had a very, very strong mercantile impact from Baghdad all the way to Shanghai and then in London. There are Jewish Baghdadi communities across the Middle East where all you see the same kinds of synagogues that were formed and small communities that interacted with each other. And they have left India, not because of any anti-Semitism. The only time there was anti-Semitism in India was during the Portuguese time, when Jews from the South faced anti-Semitism by the Portuguese, which was a foreign intruder into the country. And also we saw an anti-Semite attack most recently in Bombay, where it was Muslims from outside the country who came and attacked an Ashkenazi, which is a Western Jewish community. So the Jews left. They have actually continued to do very well across the world. The diaspora has moved to Los Angeles, to London, to Israel, to Australia, and continuing to flourish. And what does happen very often is like the Chinese community who come back home to do their prayers in Achipur. Jews, Baghdadi Jews from all over the world come back to Kolkata and come back to India to visit their roots. They have a great love for India and continue to make an important connection with India. And among very, very famous people that people in Calcutta may know about is General J.F.R. Jacob, who was actually an army man, and he was very influential in the Bangladesh war. So this is giving you just a tiny glimpse of our community. And if there are any specific questions about the synagogues, which are Middle Eastern in the way they look, where we have our holy books in an alcove that faces towards Jerusalem. Women and men sit separately, women upstairs in the balcony because we are a conservative community, men downstairs, and usually families sat together. And in the center is a raised platform where men from the community would get up and pray. So I think I can stop there and take questions later because I know we're running out of time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So she has covered so much for us. So in this slide, you can see the three pictures of the Neve Shalom. This is the view from the ladies gallery. The women who used to sit here, and the men below. This is the facade of the Bethel Synagogue in Pollock Street. This was made in the year 1856, and here you can see the two very important signs here. This is the Star of the David, and here is the menorah. As Dr. Sullivan said, that this was the platform from where the men used to pray, and this was known as the bima. And so the men used to pray from here and conduct the service. And at the end of the hall was this sacred place where the sacred, Torah rolls were kept. On, every synagogue will have a structure wherein you have this half dome, which is filled with stars. And the sacred place will have this inscription in Hebrew. If I'm correct, it says, know who it is before whom you stand.
Right.
So this is a structure which is common to all the synagogues. Also, you will have these three, sacred sheets, beyond which the Torah rolls were kept. And again, if I'm right in my pronunciation, these sheets were called the parochets. And
Parochet.
Okay, parochets, which used to be put on the body of the people who had died, and then they
No, they were never put on the body. Where Jewish people are buried with a simple white.
Very simply, that's correct. Yeah.
Memory of people who died. People used to gift these beautiful sort of carpet-like sheets. They're not sheets really, but they'd be in velvet and brocade with the name of the person. And during certain ceremonies, they would not only be hanging here, they'd be across all the terraces.
All the galleries, that's correct.
Would be these beautiful parochet. But Jews have a very simple burial. We're not allowed to. We go the same, we come the same, and nobody's even supposed to have a raised mound. So we go in death very simply.
Right. And even in this apse, which is the half dome, you have these three windows through which the light from God is supposed to come in. Right. Then in the Bethel synagogue, we have this very pretty stained glass. I think for me, it is one of the most beautiful stained glass I have seen. And also you have this beautiful wooden fan, it is carved, and it is a fan that there which still is there. Outside the synagogue, you have this tandoor where the matzah bread was baked, which is a bread which is kosher and is had by the Jews during the Passover ceremony. And also in the synagogue, you have this place called the mikvah, which is used for ritual bathing. Coming to the Magen David, so you can see the view from here.
Can I just say one thing, Navpreet, which is important? We
Yes, ma'am.
also have a wine cellar and
Wine
the making
cellar, of
wine
course.
in the
of course,
Beit El
yes.
Synagogue, which is very interesting and worth visiting when you go to see the synagogue.
Yes. So they have these huge urns, you know, where the wines were made. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Then this is the view of, as Dr. Silliman said, one of the grandest and one of the most beautiful synagogues. The most unique feature of, according to me, of Magen David is that it has a steeple. Like, usually synagogues don't have steeples, but, you know, the Jewish people who were here, they were so influenced by the, you know, churches here, that they took a special permission from the people back home in Baghdad if they could have a steeple made. So this steeple was made, and this view on the left hand side is a view which I have clicked from the street across, and it is said that, you know, this brown color building was not there when this synagogue was made, and people could, you know, walk in through a very beautiful carriageway. On the right is the entrance to the synagogue, and here you can see the pictures don't do justice to the beauty, you know, which it is there in this synagogue. Here also you can see the bima here in the center, the sacred place here, the three sacred doors beyond which the Torahs were kept. Here also I've taken a close shot of the dome here. As I said, you can see these through windows through which the light from God is supposed to come in. Here also you have this beautiful stained glass here. This is one of them on the on the side of the ladies gallery, and this is one stained glass window on the stairway. So this completes the Jewish quarters. Thank you so much, Dr. Silliman, for all your all the wonderful insights. Last but not the least, we'll come to the Armenians. Now, though we have chosen them to come last, but you'll be surprised to know that they were amongst the first to come here. In fact, they were there in this city even before most of the Europeans came. In fact, in the Armenian church, there is a grave of a lady called Reza Bibi, which says that she died in the year 1630. So they were that old. So this is a church which is one of the oldest in the city. The Armenian church was built way back in 1707. It was then built as a very small, wooden church, but it got burnt down. And later in the year 1724, this beautiful church was built in a very narrow and a very crowded street called the Armenian Street. So on the left is the church as it stands now. And on the right, you can see that it is a church as seen in an etching of 1910. So you can still see the same kind of structure now also. Now the church is very nice from inside. It has a altar which is made of marble. It has a cross. It has Jesus's the gospel text, and it has, if I am right, it has some 12 candles to show the 12 apostles of the Savior. Also on the altar there are three very pretty paintings. If I'm right, Susan, you can correct me. They are of the Holy Trinity, the Last Supper, and the enshrouding of our Lord. Now, around the church, as I said, is the churchyard where there were graves. On the left is the oldest grave, which says, I don't think you can see it in the picture very clearly, but it is said that this is a grave which dates dates back to the year 1630. Also surrounding the church are graves of some very prominent Armenians who contributed a lot towards the cultural and the economic well-being of this city. You have the grave of J.C. Goldston, who at a point in time was supposed to have some 350, buildings built in Calcutta. So the Saturday Club was built by him, the Queen's Mansion, the Nizam's Palace, to name a few. On the right, you can see the grave of Mr. Arthur Stephen. He was the man who has given us the beautiful Grand Hotel. So the contribution of the Armenians to this city was immense. And now I would request Miss Susan, who is with us, to speak a little bit more about this community. Susan has been associated with the Armenian Church from 1997, and she was elected the committee member and has been warden for the church for the past 10 years. At present, she is in her 23rd year of association with the Armenian Church. Over to you, Susan.
Thank you very much, Navpreet, for having me on this show. Very good morning to all of you. I'd just like to make a very short, brief speech. Firstly, I would like you all to know that the Armenian community actually belonged to the Orthodox community. And the Armenia, the country, was the first to adopt Christianity. Armenians were very prominent. They were in the business. And around the 17th century, Emperor Akbar invited the Armenians to come to Calcutta, West Bengal, where they settled. They worked as merchants and dealt with spices, silk, muslins, etc. And some also became architects. Several Armenians settled down in places like Chinsura, Kolkata, Chennai, Dhaka, and Murshidabad, and they were doing their businesses from there. They became very important in the trading community. A merchant named Khoja Petros, he constructed a bridge in Chennai over the seas of Adyar River, which is located on Armenian Street. It is still there till today. You can go and see. There's a plaque where it's mentioned. Several churches also were built by Armenians, namely our main church, Holy Church of Nazareth, which is the second oldest church in Kolkata. And it's around over 300 years old. Like you mentioned, Navpreet, earlier, it was built in 1707, and then a fire took place, and it was rebuilt again in 1724. Then we have churches in Park Circus, North Range. We have our church in Murshidabad and Chinsura. And after the Armenians' independence from the USSR, many Armenians returned back to their homeland. And now there are hardly 200 or 250 Armenians left in India. And this includes the numbers of the school children also. So the community has dwindled a lot. The Armenian Church is a charitable organization who takes care of the community by providing allowances, medical, and accommodation to the people. Besides our community, we also help out other people who are in need of assistance. We have set up a lot of medical centers in hospitals like RG Kar, Dum Dum Municipality, Rabindranath Tagore, the Rotary Shankar Netralaya for the eyes. We have also put up a center for the called Anandagar for the AIDS children. This we have helped out in many ways by donations and by giving equipment to these hospitals, and which has really come handy for the people. Even this Institute of Neurosciences, which is on Park Circus opposite Malik Bazaar, we have funded there too, and we have opened up a center there also. So in this way, Armenians have been very helpful out, and although the numbers are dwindling, but we are carrying on. And now with little mixed marriages, we hope to increase the population. Another very famous personality of the Armenian community was Sir Paul Sheeter, who was born in Calcutta and studied in La Martiniere School. He went off to Hong Kong, where he became a very famous businessman there. And during his life there, he came to know that La Martiniere was in a financial crisis, and the school was in a condition where it was practically closing down. Immediately, he funded the school, and he helped out in La Martiniere. And till today, at the assembly, they take his name in prayer. So this is not forgotten. So these are the things that Armenians have left behind. Although we have dwindled, but we are still very much there. We have our services every Sunday at different churches. And we also have a school called the Armenian Philanthropic Academy, where we have boarding section for the children. And children come from Armenia, they study, they do their college, and they go back. And some children are sponsored also to different countries. But this is how we carry on. And the cultural, the food, we have our special dishes, very famous ones, like famous one is called dolma, where it's a stuffing of mince and meat into grape leaves. Then there are different type of kebabs and barbecues. And there is a sweet dish called baklava, very much like the Turkish sweet name. But we have our foods, but our foods are not spicy at all. They are meant, you know, with less spice. So this is all I have to say about the Armenian community, and I would like to end here. So it was really a pleasure for me to be on this show talking about the community. And if there's anyone who would like to visit our churches, they are open every day, and they are most welcome to visit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. This session was really, really nice and insightful. With this, I end my slideshow, and over to you, Supriya ma'am, in case some questions have to be asked. Thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure being here and speaking to all the one wonderful guests. Thank you, Mr. GM Kapoor, for giving me a chance to be here and being with this beautiful people here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Navpreet ma'am. You were excellent. And what do I say? It was an amazing, truly amazing, experience for all of us. Very informative and truly insightful. We are running out of time, so we do have questions from our students who are very, very excited and are watching us live on YouTube. But I don't think so. We can take up these questions now. And this is my message to all our viewers, to all our students watching us live. Dear children, we will definitely, organize another session with these wonderful speakers to answer all your questions. Hope you won't mind. And with this, I would now request our Vice Principal, ma'am, Ms. Taki Banerjee, to say a few words. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Supriya ma'am. A very warm morning to our chief guest, to all our guest speakers, teachers, and my dear students. No one would have ever thought of such a day where we would talk about, or rather take a virtual tour of our city, sitting far from each other. Today's event was an extremely enriching session for each one of us. Our resource persons have left no stone unturned to make today's show exciting as well as great learning experience for all of us. This event would not have been possible without the support of the INTAC, and we look forward to many such collaborations. Last but not the least, we must keep our spirit high so that no matter how adverse the situation is, it would not stop us from learning. Thank you once again for taking us through this wonderful program and enriching us on the rich heritage of our city, Kolkata. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words of appreciation and encouragement. And I would now request Ms. Anandi Banerjee to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Supriya ma'am. Good morning to all present here. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event. We extend our sincere thanks to our respected principal, Mrs. Subina Shunglu, for awakening the minds of the young generation and sharpening the educational agenda. We feel honored to have you as our principal. We also extend our heartfelt gratitude towards Mrs. Gargi Banerjee, our vice principal, for her unstinting support for this function. I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. G.M. Kapoor, who proposed this joint event and for honoring us with his inspirational presence and intact for kindly helping us organize today's function. I would like to thank Ms. Navpreet Arora for her presentation and for sharing her love for our city. Our deep appreciation goes to our special speakers, Dr. Silliman, Mr. Cyrus Madan, Mr. B.C. Law, Ms. Susan Rubin, and Ms. Maria Fitzgerald for taking time out of their busy schedules to address us today and share their special insights. We are humbled by their informative words. I would like to thank our PRO, Mrs. Rita Dasgupta, for supporting us consistently, and Mr. Arnav Shaw for technical guidance. I would like to thank our audience, intact members, friends, staff, and students of Sri Sri Academy, Kolkata. A special word of thanks to the students and teachers of the Heritage Club for their enormous cooperation in organizing the events of World Heritage Week 2020. Thank you so much. Over to you, Supriya ma'am.
Thank you, Anandi ma'am. And with this vote of thanks, we come to the end of this event. A big thank you to each one of you for being with us today. Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I have another word which I'm putting in, which is not part of the plan. I feel that we must collate these questions and then send it, because if it sparked off even a little bit of interest in children, that they want to know more about Calcutta's multicultural past, I think it's very important that we, even though we run out of time, because the whole purpose of this this morning is that. So, Supriya ma'am, I'm going to request you to please collate it and then share it with everybody, because we want to know if there's something else that they want to know. So this is very important for me, right?
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. We'll definitely collate it. And very interesting questions have come from our students. So I'm feeling very bad that we can't take up those questions today. But we'll surely do something.